Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dropping the Gloves. Thanks for joining us here on a beautiful October 10th. My kids are looking at me like I'm crazy because this is deja vu, Tim. Take two. We had to do two episodes today because we messed up the first time. Nothing recorded what I said. And it's okay. You know, you live and learn. It's always better the second time, my boss says here in the Apollo Engineering firm. So here we are, Tim. How are you doing after we talked? You were enjoying a nice drink down by the water. You'd had a brunch and you were doing good. Now you're cooped up in your hotel room. What's going on with you? You're
Yeah,
alive.
I've been in Key West all week. Obviously, we had the hurricane in Florida pass in the past couple of days. Luckily, it was all north of us. There was like a day or so we were kind of worried about that, but nothing too much down here except for some wind and some rain. And now it's been beautiful the last day or so, and should be beautiful again until we leave on Saturday. So it's been good. And yeah, we've been trying to squeeze in this episode all week, and then my Wi-Fi was spotty, and I didn't have time. And then we're trying to sync the schedules. We finally did an episode this afternoon, right at noon. It was perfect. I was sitting right on Duval Street at a nice little wine bar in the patio. I'm sipping wine. Julia's there. We had this chicken walk by that wouldn't stop clucking. And it was a great little kind of impromptu episode. But unfortunately, like John said, we lost the audio from his side because it was my mistake. So we're back here. We're going to do it again. And hopefully it'll be just as good.
I'm glad you took accountability for that because a lot of times you wouldn't. So it's important for you to do that.
Yeah, I've learned a lot from you. This is just one of them. So it's
I
important
agree.
that we move on together as a pair.
Yeah, well, it's like a mentor type relationship, and it feels like it's in year five. It's starting to kind of come to fruition. It's nice to see the fruits of my
It's starting
labor
to
sprout.
take.
But anyways, let's move on because I don't know how long we're going to have you because the service is so spotty. There's been a lot going on, especially in your realm. Your Boston Bruins coming into this season, obviously, goaltender drama. I think self-inflicted goaltender drama. Coming into this offseason, everybody knew they wanted to sign Jeremy Swayman. Everybody knew that they had to get that deal done. They traded Linus Ullmark. We got to get the deal done. He's our goaltender of the present and the future. It's going to get done. Easy peasy. We got the money. Let's do it. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. The summer's gone. All of a sudden, we're into the preseason. It's September. It's October. No deal done yet. Don Sweeney's talking about December 1st, which is the deadline for UFAs to sign, or RFAs, excuse me, before they miss the whole season. Well, that all changed this week. He signed 8 years, $8.25 million. The deal's done. $66 million. My question to you, Tim, is does this feel like anybody won this deal? Because to me, it feels like we just wasted 4 months for no reason whatsoever. That this was the money that everybody knew he should have signed for. Everybody knew that's a fair deal for team and player, but we just built up all of this animosity, had all these vitriol in the press and going public with everything, and now we're back where we started. 8 years, $8 million.
Yeah, it's strange. I don't know why we couldn't have started there. Like I said, this would have been if we had signed this exact deal back in the beginning of summer. The fans would have been happy. The team would have been happy. The goal player would have been happy. Everyone would have been happy. And it's strange that it took us so much vitriol to get here. And parts of it were even embarrassing. I've said in prior episodes as a Bruins fan, like airing this dirty laundry and having your GM and president throw like snarky little side comments at a press release. It's strange, but I'm glad that it's done, and I wasn't surprised per se. I didn't think it was going to go all the way to December, but we were prepared to start the season without him. And even though we sort of did, he signed before the season started, but he wasn't ready, obviously, and Corpusalo got the net, which didn't look too great last night for the Bruins.
Which is hilarious because all offseason, you and Ty Montgomery and all the Bruins faithful were just so optimistic about Corpusalo. Well, no, look at the underlying stats. Look at the team he's playing behind. Look at his earlier years, this and that and the other. He's going to bounce back. He's going to have a great season. We don't need Swayman, for the first little bit. We'll be fine. He got absolutely shelled for 6 goals in his first outing 2 days ago. Are you ready to concede that Corpusalo That's a terrible throw-in for the Linus Ullmark deal now. He carries almost as high of a cap hit. I think it's $4 million. Ullmark was 5. And he's such a bad goaltender at this point in his career.
Yeah, Hallmark just signed long term with Ottawa. No, I'm not ready to concede that for the same reason that if he had a shutout in his first game, you wouldn't say, okay, I was wrong. He's a really good goalie. It's only very small sample size. But yeah, it does make you a little bit nervous, and it does reinforce the need for Swayman as the 1A for sure. He's not even a 1A, he's the 1. I just think Korpisalo can and will be better when we need him to be.
No, the sample size is there from the last few years. Now, if he would have gotten a shutout, I would have said small sample size, because the last 2 or 3 years he has been hot garbage. So I don't know if the small sample size is warranted in this case, but the Bruins look bad. They looked slow. They looked uninvested, which is strange because you're going up against the Stanley Cup champions. The team has bounced you out the last 2 years in the playoffs. You think you'd want to, put your stamp on the season. Have a statement game. You know what I mean? Here we are, 2024-25. This is our year. We're better. We got our goalie. We got the second line center that we needed. We got a big defenseman, Nikita Zadorov. Our team is moving forward. We've checked all the boxes, everything we needed. And they lay an egg in front of the defending Stanley Cup champions to the point, Tim, where you're down 5-1. And the opposing team's fans are sarcastically chanting for you to put in your backup. That's how low it got 2 nights ago for the Boston Bruins, that you're being mocked by the other team's fans. Swayman. You see Swayman sitting on the bench like, I am not ready to go in. Like, this is embarrassing for me, for the team. Like, how does that feel as a Bruins fan?
Not great. And it feels like the teams that usually have like those pregame ceremonies, whether it's the ring, whether it's retirement or some kind of memorial or some kind of like distraction, for lack of a better word, usually that team loses, right?
Yeah.
Usually, like, you played in Buffalo right after the marathon, and Buffalo won that game because
I played in Chicago when we did the cup raising, the banner raising. Yeah.
Other things on their mind, and then not Tampa, not Florida though. Well, this is another thing I wanted to ask you about this. I saw this headline. I didn't watch the game. I've been honestly mostly offline this week, but Trent Frederick said that Tkachuk asked him to fight, and when he agreed, Tkachuk ran away and basically said he was just egging him into a penalty. And he's like, and Frederick said it was basically like a BS move and not the kind of thing you want to do. It seems like that happens all the time, though. Would you agree?
It's a tricky thing. It's happened to me before. Patrick Coletta did it to me in the minors, and it's happened to me a few times throughout my career. Not very often. It's rare. Famously, I think it happened to Dion Phaneuf when he was someone from, I want to say Montreal, and he tripped over his glove and went, behind over tea kettle. But yeah, I think in that situation, you have to know the player you're doing it with. So Matthew Tkachuk, not known as a guy who's going to drop him willingly, and he's known as kind of a pest around the league. So you have to be careful. You have to make sure they engage first. And I made the mistake with Pat Coletta, where I just shed everything. It was a yard sale at center ice, and I had to just go around and get all of my stick, my glove, which I shed dramatically because it was the AHL, and I was so excited. It was in Rochester. All my friends were there. I'm like, yeah. And it's just embarrassing. But yeah, I don't mind what Matthew Tkachuk did. I don't like it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I think Frederick has to be smarter in those situations. Read the game. You're losing. He knows you're going to be quick to pull the trigger, and so just make him make the first move, or just grab him right away. So he has to. So I think Tkachuk he played him. He worked him, and he knew he was going to get a 2-minute minor penalty if he would have did that, and they got the power play because of it.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, not a great start for the black and gold. That's for sure.
Is it concerning for you? And just be honest. I know it's early. It's one game, Tim. It's one game. But when you look around the league, there was a lot of lopsided victories all around the league. Edmonton Oilers got completely waxed. The Colorado Avalanche got nailed 8-4. There was another 6-0 game. The Pittsburgh Penguins lost 6-0 to the New York Rangers.
Something like that, yeah.
Out of those 4 games, which are routes, which one is concerning to you? Because all 4 teams, maybe the Pittsburgh Penguins aside, they're a bubble team. Out of those 3 teams, the Avalanche, the Boston Bruins, and the Edmonton Oilers, which one do you see maybe some red flags? Like, okay, this isn't an outlier. This could be a concern moving forward in this season.
I think it's Colorado to me, mostly because this is going to be an issue for them all season long. Where like Rantanen had a hat trick. The stat of like how many times someone scores a hat trick and you win that game has to be
Yeah.
95%, right? So like the fact that they didn't, and McKinnon had a couple of assists, and I'm sure McCarr was on the score sheet as well. And the fact that they still lost that game just shows that this roster still has some pretty big holes in it. They don't have the depth, they don't have the defense, they don't have the goaltending that they had when they won the cup. They still have that top tier superstar talent where they could probably say you can make the case they have the best three anyone could put on the ice. But after that, it gets real thin real quick. So if we're going to read a lot into any of them, I would say them, but I'm not reading too much into any of them at this point, except for maybe Pittsburgh, but that's a qualifier, like you said.
That's a given. And we had this case for Colorado last year. They lost a lot of depth after the Stanley Cup. Are they going to be able to bounce back and compete? And the answer was no. And move forward this year where they already don't have Landeskog. Who knows his timetable? And Nichushkin's still out. Arturi Leikkonen's still out. And then it gets really thin after that first line. Like when your second line is Nikolai Kovalenko, Casey Middlestead, and Calum Ritchie. Who are those guys? I obviously know Casey Middlestead, but it's not good. And then you still have Jonathan Duran on the top line, who Tim, I think must have some angle there because he loves Jonathan Duran, and
No,
I don't know
No, I don't.
why, but you want him to do good, and so do I. But he's not a first line guy at this point in his career. I don't think he ever was.
What's up, guys? Tim here. Listen, if you've been listening to the show for a while, then you know that I have an adopted rescue dog named Levi. He was around 6 when I got him. He's 8 now, and he's the sweetest and most loving companion you could ever hope to know. Dog owners know what I'm talking about. You want the best for your pets to help them live as happily and healthily as possible. That's why we partnered with the Farmer's Dog. The Farmer's Dog makes feeding real healthy dog food easy and convenient, and your dog will absolutely love it. Levi is obsessed, and he's been licking his bowl clean every day. The Farmer's Dog makes and delivers fresh, healthy dog food right to your door. It's developed by vets, nutritionally balanced, and made from real meat and veggies to the same safety standards of human food. A healthy diet isn't just important for people. It has all kinds of benefits for dogs, too. From healthier coat and skin to better breath, even easier digestion. Levi's energy has been so much better since making the switch, and he looks forward to mealtime in a way that he never has before. The package came in and everything was personalized with Levi's name. I mean it when I say these guys love pets the same way that you do. And now you can join the movement and get 50% off your first box of fresh, healthy food at thefarmersdog.com/gloves. Plus, you get free shipping. Just go to thefarmersdog.com/gloves to get 50% off. That's thefarmersdog.com/gloves.
All right, moving on, Tim. Toronto Maple Leafs. They had their debut game last night. Big game. Playing the Montreal Canadiens. Original 6. Always a huge rivalry between these two teams. In the preseason, obviously, Cedric Paré got into it a little bit. Everybody expected Arbor Xhekaj maybe to step up and fight Ryan Reeves. I was excited for that. Everybody was clamoring for it. Much like last season, when we were excited for a Ryan Reeves fight or an Arbor Xhekaj instance when these two teams met, zero fireworks whatsoever. I don't even think they looked at each other. It was, you don't look at me, I won't look at you. So that was a non-story whatsoever. The big story was Max Pacioretty. Coming into this game, I'm going to pose a question to you, Tim. So if you worked somewhere for 10 plus years, you build relationships, right?
I sure do.
Yeah, and you gain friendships, and there's some love there, some people would say. And just say you were in the service industry, in the restaurant industry, and you had customers come in every time and you get to know them. You gain friendships there, and there's relationships, right?
Sure. Yeah, I would even say fans, maybe.
Maybe fans. So just say you come back 10 years later. Or you leave to a new restaurant. You come back. Just say you're the chef. When you came in that restaurant, would you want people to say, "Hey, Tim, how you doing? Good to see you back. Oh, we miss you. How's it going?" Would that be a common greeting?
I would expect that when I walk in the building, yeah.
So would everybody. Unless you do something really slimy that the fans don't like. Well, that's happened to Max Pacioretty last night. He came home, former captain of the Montreal Canadiens, there for over a decade, staple of the team. heartbeat of the team. Every time, Tim, that he touched a puck, it was a cascading boos from the furthest seat in the house. It was deafening, the boos that this guy got. And I don't know all of the backstory. If you listeners know, just fill us in the comments. But it might have had something to do with this little comment he made this past week in the Toronto press. So just stay with me here. He had a fairly long quote, and this is Max Pacioretty. It says, "There's a reason why these guys have success. This is the hardest group I've ever been a part of. I saw it from day one. These top guys, it's not a fluke why they're the top guys. They put in the work. They take care of themselves. I saw it within 2 minutes of being here. But you see it every day, every morning. And it's really nice to be around. I mean, yesterday morning, I saw Austin and Willie go out and maybe like 30 minutes early and put out a bag of pucks and work on their edges. They're shooting. But I mean, like full speed, Tim. Like 100%. Johnny T every day in the gym, same thing, taking care of himself, extra workouts. It makes you realize there's only one way to do it, to be the best. And that's working hard." Close quote. I threw your name in there too, just because it was so dramatic. Do you see why the Montreal fans are a little upset at this guy after this quote? I'm sure there's other stuff, dirty laundry, that I don't know about. And maybe I should. But if you're a Montreal fan reading this quote, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of poor taste, maybe, or just like not really reading the room well, because you should be welcomed and celebrated when you come back like that. And it's such a weird tone deaf thing to say that that Toronto is like such a hardworking team. I'm sure they are. I know those guys work hard, but why would you talk about that and compare it to other places you've been when these guys haven't won anything whatsoever? One playoff round in 8 years, and also the things he's describing aren't the things that are like going 30 minutes early and shooting pucks and working on edges. Like half the guys in the league do that. You know what I mean? Like it's not some extraordinary thing. And again, Max Pacioretty knows more than I do, so who am I to say this? But it just sounds a little tone deaf and strange that he would speak this way, especially right before Game 1 in his old barn.
There's a couple things, but the big thing that stood out to me was you're comparing this to your past teams. You were the captain. You set the standard for the team. So you're basically undermining your complete captaincy of the Montreal Canadiens. We didn't. This team, this Toronto Maple Leafs team. This is how you do it. This is how you be really, really good and are successful. I've never seen this before. Hey, ding dong, you've been in the league for over, I think, 15, 16 years. How is that even coming out of your mouth? So that part, he's just pandering to the Toronto guys. Oh, they're so good. They're the best. They're the best. The second point is these guys, like you said, have not won a thing. Nothing. So, like, what is this as good as it gets then? You know what I mean? Like, if they've already hit their peak and they're doing everything they can, what's left? That's it. One round. And I just think this is where he's just obviously trying to blow smoke up their behinds, because anybody in the universe who knows anything about hockey, if they could seriously look in your eye and say, oh yeah, the hardest working team in the league, Toronto Maple Leafs, hands down. Like, it's not even close. Have you seen those guys compete? Finishing every check, back checking through the zone every time, skating hard to the bench. They're just they take short shifts. They don't take any shit. Like, are you crazy, Max Pacioretty? Like, are you honestly able to just look yourself in the mirror and go, that was honest? Because it's not. It's just so comical that like he's saying it about this team. You see, how bad do you want to play on the first line? I think that's what it's all about. He's just like, oh yeah, I gotta say some nice stuff about. Oh yeah, Austin. Oh, he was out there half an hour early. 100%. Yeah, every time. 100%. Yeah, that's it.
How about this too? He mentions Austin. He mentions Willie. He mentions Johnny. Who did he forget? Who does he not mention? Marner?
I don't know. Who?
Mitch Marner. Why isn't he getting name dropped? Right?
Because Mitch is out the door. He wants to take Mitch's spot.
Yeah.
But I watched the game. So the game starts. Big game. Toronto played good, but Montreal's goaltender, Sam Montembeault, played outstanding. 47 saves, gets to shutout, ruins the longest streak for any NHL team for scoring a goal. The Leafs haven't been shut out in 240 some plus games. So it's 3 years. And it just so happens it happens in Montreal. Max Pacioretty on the second line can't score on Montreal. And Montreal's defense looked good. I will take a little apology here for everybody. I was really ripping Montreal's defense during the offseason. Yes, they gave up 47 shots. Yes, the goaltender stood on his head. They played pretty good. Matheson, Gould, Jacky, Hudson. They played solid. Solid enough to shut down this team. But man, Lane Hudson, Tim,
Yeah.
solid player. Hey, the things that he does with the puck, the patience, the poise, and just the gall to do some of the moves that he does in the situations. If he's in the offensive zone, I watched him many, many times last game. They're up by one. It's the third period, and he is like wheeling and dealing in the offensive zone, where if he loses that puck, they're going the other way, odd man rush. And he is so confident. It's amazing to see.
Remember that clip of Miro Heiskanen, his first shift like 8 years ago or whatever, just complete end-to-end dominance and skating and just creating offense out of nowhere. It's like that. That's who he reminds me of. And speaking of Montreal, we should give a quick shout out to Cole Caulfield, who changed his jersey number to 13 over the summer to tribute Johnny Gaudreau, and goes out and scores the first and only goal of the game. Very fitting. And of course, it was on the power play, assisted by our friend Kirby Doc, which is pretty cool too.
Friend of the show, Kirby Doc. All right, yes, all right. We'll do a couple more, then we got to let Tim go because he's on vacation. We can't keep him very, very long. All right, a hopeful friend of the show, Phil Kessel. I've been asking him for the last 5 years to come on the show. He has not said yes. He said politely, "I don't do podcasts, bud." All right, I think we have a special relationship. We can maybe break that rule. Anyways, he's been trying to get back into the NHL. Last year, kicking the tires, nobody wanted him. This year, training his tail off in the offseason, apparently, did not go his way. He's 37 years old. He has not closed the door to an NHL return if the situation fits him right. Well, he has to figure out what to do, Tim. He has signed on to be an ambassador for the World Poker Tour. What a life this guy leads. Isn't it like amazing? Well, I'm going to play in the NHL for 15 some years, win a couple Stanley Cups. Maybe I'll come back, maybe I won't. In the meantime, I'm just going to play poker and get paid for it. It's crazy.
Well, first, I would say he should get a chance. I wish that he was playing in the NHL right now. It's more fun league when he was in it. But yeah, I think I didn't know about this till you told me earlier. And it doesn't surprise me, though, because Phil's one of those guys. He obviously doesn't look it, but he's a great hockey player. And he seems like with so much natural talent, he's just good at everything he tries. I bet if you played like cornhole or ping pong or any of that stuff, pool with him, darts, he would just be the best in the room, just naturally, effortlessly. So adding poker to the resume doesn't surprise me at all.
That's all I got, Tim. Well, I got a lot more, but I don't want to keep you. Is there anything else you want to touch on before you hit the pool again?
No, thanks for your patience. We'll get this episode out and hopefully maybe squeeze another one in tomorrow. But if not, we'll be back full force next week and hit the season running.
I agree. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We appreciate the support. We will talk to you guys maybe tomorrow. It's all up to Tim. He says jump, I say how high.
That's right.
That's kind of how the relationship works. But yeah, stay tuned. Maybe we'll talk to you tomorrow. If not, you heard Tim. Monday. Cheers, everybody.